Welcome back everyone. Look at these two beautiful single dose grinders I have next to me. These are the Mazzer Philoses. They are stunning, they're precise, and there is so much detail in these grinders. I can't wait to share it with you. Hang about, I'll tell you all you need to know. So we're pretty excited that we're going to be going through the Mazzer factory in Italy very soon. And part of that is allowing us to see and play with a lot more products. And we haven't touched and felt this Philos grinder yet. But last night I had the chance to talk to the team in Italy, talk to the engineers about this machine, not just about how it works, how we've been enjoying using it, but understanding a lot more detail about how precise Mazzer are when they produce a product. And I can't wait to share that with you. There are so many little elegant details in here that they agonize over to make sure that this grinder is near perfect. So before we get any further, what do you reckon Philos means? Pop it down in the comments below and I'll tell you at the end. See if you're right. So let's start about the general look, feel, and how you use this grinder. Mazzer really wanted to change the experience that you have at home when you're using a single dose grinder. They didn't want it to be small, they didn't want to have compromise in the quality or the build that they wanted to do, but they wanted to think about you as a user to make sure that you're enjoying a grinder. It's an experience. And so they really have thought about how you control and use this grinder. The weirdest thing about it is that there is no grind dial on the front, it's actually on the back. And I know it sounds pretty crazy, but when you're using it, you feel like you're connecting with the grinder. It's like you're hugging the grinder and using it. And I think it's actually pretty cool. The Philos is so well designed that it actually won the IF Design Awards in 2024. That's one of the most well-recognized design awards for electronic style pieces of equipment where the grinder would fit into. So that is super impressive. Not only does it look good, but the attention to detail and how it actually functions as a grinder has allowed them to introduce a lot of great new technology into the grinder, but also keep it very simple, very easy to use, and bulletproof. Because as we all know, any Mazzer grinder just lasts forever. And this grinder is no exception. I'm just gonna start at the top and work my way down. So we've got our hopper on the top here. It's a single dose hopper, obviously. You've got a beautiful silicon style plastic cap on the top here, and there is stainless steel used throughout the whole machine. So the funnel on the top is a beautiful stainless steel finish that will drop the beans straight into the top in the hopper there. It also doubles as the ability to pop your beans in. You know, if you've got grind or you're a bit messy and you can't fill up your dosing pot, you can double up there pretty easily. I'll come back to that cup because that's really cool. On the top, where the beans fall in, there is actually some little fins which make sure that the beans fall in the perfect angle to the auger, which is inside. And I'll show you that in a minute. That auger basically feeds the beans perfectly in. But as you open or close your release here, or the lock which drops those beans straight in, it is so beautiful. It's like a nice piece of jewelry. It's just very nice, smooth, and so precise to open and close that little chute. The chassis of the Philos is actually made out of aluminium. And you might say aluminum or aluminium, but what we call brushed aluminium. The markings on the side here have been perfectly scratched in to make sure that it feels beautiful. And it is. It's really silky, it's not scratchy, but it's the perfect depth scratch to make sure that quality is the outcome. You can see it here on the black finish or on the stainless steel, and it just feels silky and nice. It's a beautifully well presented scratch on a piece of aluminium. And not only did they just think about the circular piece, they made sure that every line here on the top tube style down onto the base are all parallel and perfectly aligned. So you can see it on the stainless steel one quite well that they are just perfectly aligned, and that creates a beautiful aesthetic across the whole product. It's super simple to use because there's just one button to turn it on or turn it off. And when you're dosing, you can easily clear the grind into your dosing pot. Underneath there's a little lever here that you can just flick and it will drop out those grinds straight into your dosing pot. And if you turn the grinder off, give it another flick, it will clear out that last little bit of excess that's being caught in there because the blades are spinning around so fast. On the front, you've got a removable panel, nice and easy to remove, and then you've got access to the Burr Set. Now I'm going to come back and show you a bit more detail on that in just a second. In your kitchen, you don't want to have power cords sitting around being an absolute pain or looking a bit silly if they're a bit too long. So Mazzer have actually allowed you to remove the back panel and adjust the amount of cord that is popping out the back. It nicely tucks inside the base of the machine to keep that power cord nice and clean for you in your house. On the back is how you adjust the grind, and you've got a very clear indicator between coarse or fine, and it's a very unique experience because most of the time grinders have the grind change on the front, but Mazzer's put it on the back because it makes you feel like you're hugging that grinder and being really involved when you're making that grind change. It did feel a bit weird at the start, but you get used to it and it actually feels very nice. It doesn't feel clunky, and you can just stand there over the grinder and feed in your beans and adjust the grind very easily. We're not crouching down and having to look at the grind settings down the bottom. So it's actually quite a smart move. I'm enjoying that experience. When you come down to where your dosing pot sits, you've got this, everyone will say plastic, but it's not. It's a very high grade polymer that is used in the grinder. So don't think it's cheap plastic. It's a really good, expensive product. If they had have made it all aluminium, again, the price would have been far more expensive because the shape of this is so uniquely designed that the only way they could reproduce it was with this product. The dosing pot. It's just a bit smaller than your 58mm. It fits beautifully in. I'd probably say it's about a 56mm because it does fit perfectly inside and a little bit deep in a 58mm portafilter. But what's cool about it is fully magnetized. And it will magnetize in two spots. The bottom plate on the grinder here is actually magnetized, and so is this little Y-shaped yoke. So you can't get this wrong. Doesn't matter where you put it, it's gonna end up perfectly aligned for the drop chute of the single dose coffee coming out. I just thought I'd go and check my notes, and this dosing pot is actually a 53mm diameter, so it's gonna be great if you've got some of those smaller, maybe home style machines, which is 53, or it's gonna be fine for your 58mm portafilter handles as well. Very versatile, it's going to cover all bases. So how does Mazzer deal with static? Because some people think about ionizing rings or some sort of declumping or rubber silicone thing to ground any of that static. Well, they do it by using this Y shape, and it's actually earthed out. So that will essentially go through to the power cord, and essentially you're not going to have to worry about static with this grinder. So the height of the Philos grinder is 361mm, the depth is 351mm, and the width is 153mm. With a weight of 12.5 kilos, or 27 pounds in the old scale. So the one thing that Mazzer is really, really proud of is how little retention the Philos has when you do your first grind. So how much is it? Let's check it out. So I'm going to weigh out our 22.5 gram dose, which is something that we use standardly in our espresso bar. So this test is to see how much the grind is going to end up throughout any little nook or cranny or crevice that the grinder may have. Essentially, that is what's going to fill any of the pass-through channel, which we want to be zero retention. So I'll turn the grinder on, lock in the pot, and give it a test. Give it a couple of flicks. And the verdict, 21.9. So there you go, we lost 0.6 of a gram inside that grinder. That is even less than what they were saying. So the retention on the first dose in the Philos grinder is only 0.6. Now in discussions with the team at Mazzer, they were saying it was going to be 0.8, so it is even better than what they were expecting. So now that there's a little bit of grind, in front of that screw that might be in the Burr Set or maybe the little crevice or corner, let's see how much retention there is on the second dose. So again, we'll do our 22.5 gram dose. Whoop. Pop in the dose to the top hopper. Whack that on, which is pretty cool. And we'll see what this second dose gives us. .3. 22.4, so there you go, 0.1 of a gram is left inside this grinder. Now that's fantastic. Now if you've got a keen eye, if you bring the camera down and see here, there's actually a little bit of dose that was there from the previous first setting, or the first dose I did. So that would add maybe another 0.1, maybe a 0.2 to that original first dose. That is outstanding. So if you did want to not have that grind fall out as it did for me, what it was I was doing the little flicker at the top to make sure you knocked anything out, and I thought that was it. But if you turn the grinder off, then give it another little flick after those burrs have stopped, you'll get that extra 0.1 of a gram that was sitting up in the chamber. Now we're going to dive really deep inside the grinder. How does it work? What makes it really special? Well, I've said about how great the engineering is. A lot of machines, you're going to need a tool or something special to be able to get access to the burr sets and clean. The Mazzer engineers have been really smart. There's these two butterfly nuts here, which if you just keep undoing them, you're not going to lose them because they will just stay located inside. There's one either side that you can simply undo. Like that. Grab the handle on the front, and you've got access to your burrs. How great is that for being able to get access and clean your burrs? So I'm going to put this aside just for a second. As I said earlier, the whole grinder is made out of aluminum. The top surface is an anodized aluminum, where this is a one-piece aluminum here. That helps with the heat from the motor to transfer away from the motor and keeping it cool. There was no need to have a fan, which would just be noisy in the home environment. So they're using that aluminium as a big heat sink to make sure that the motor is going to handle up to 2 kilos per day in the home environment. So that's a lot of mates that you can have around brewing lots of coffee. Now this is where we get very serious about the technology of the Philos. The auger here isn't any normal auger. And the shape of the auger and the size of the hole make sure that the beans feed perfectly in to the burr set. They're not going to keep going around and round and round like a washing machine maybe. They're just going to feed perfectly the right amount of beans through the top hopper as a perfect feed to make sure that the burrs are just being most effective as they can be. So there are two types of burrs that you can order with your Mazzer Philos grinders. So this set here is the I-189D with the pre-breaker. Now that's actually designed to give a little bit more body and a bit more sweetness and all-roundness to the cup of coffee. Where the I-200D is really about clarity and a bit more higher acidity and getting some more of those subtle flavors in your coffee. So perhaps maybe if you like espresso in the lighter ranges, you might look at the I-200D, but if you're a person that's chasing a bit more body because you like to have some milk with your coffees, you would probably look at the 189D. As you remove the front section off the grinder, there is a safety switch, so there's no chance that you're going to hurt yourself by the burrs if you happen to leave it on, which is always a great safety feature. And when you're trying to put it back on, the tolerance of this grinder is so tight that this rubber fitting here, as you're popping it on, they had to put a little hole here to allow the air to escape because there was no way that you could push it on because it was so well vacuum sealed. And you're thinking, well, why would you make it so vacuum sealed? Because there is a big trend right now for people to do RDT on their coffee, which is putting water or moisture on your beans to try and eliminate static. But because this is all aluminium and stainless steel, there is no issues with water or moisture in the Philos grinder. It won't get into the motor, it's not going to get out anywhere else, so it's fully moisture resistant, which is fantastic. But because it's so tight and so airtight, they had to make sure that there was a little air release so you could actually put the grinder back together. By having the front section or the front set of burrs be removable, that allows the back section or the motor to actually slide forward and backwards, which gives you your grind adjustment. We're not playing with any tolerances when we remove the front. So essentially you can take this off and put it back on again and be at the exact same position for your grind settings, which is pretty cool. So standardly, the Philos is actually a stepped grinder, and that is a 0.6 of a micron per indicator on the grind adjustment dial at the back. And it has this beautiful click to it and it feels really nice to use. But you can also remove that stepped option. You can go finer in between those. There is a simple little hack that you can do if you really wanted to make it a stepless grinder. It's not too hard, and there's certainly some videos out there that you can check out to make that adjustment if you need. If you need to realign your numbers or realign the burr set, it's really simple. You just undo the knob at the back anti-clockwise, the top cover comes off, You can then turn the burr set all the way to the finest, and then you can realign the 0 point on the grinder. Now Mazzer don't want you to make sure that you hit those burrs and start to chirp or blunten your burrs by knocking them out. They have perfectly aligned these burrs. They've measured every set that leaves the factory. There is no doubt that they are 100% ready for you. So don't play with the burrs. All you need to do is adjust the grind and you're going to be set perfectly when you start to use the grinder. I said earlier, Mazzer did not want to compromise on the quality for a grinder for home use. What they actually went and did is use the motor, the 400 watt motor that they use in their other grinders, and made sure that they could fit it into their home grinder. It runs at 1400 RPM. And because they've used that motor and with these burrs, there is no issues in doing the lightest of light roasts that you have. There is a massive capacitor there that can store the energy to make sure that those burrs can turn with that electric motor. They're so confident that I did hear them say that someone actually ground green beans. Maybe don't go try that yourself, but you know how hard green beans are, and this grinder can do that. So that is a fantastic outcome for anybody chasing that super light roast. You're not going to have any issues in the motor stalling, jamming, or cutting out. Now, because the grinder is made out of stainless steel and the highest grade components, it is fully NSF certified. So that is the highest grade or standard that you can have on any food processing piece of equipment in the world. So that's fantastic. You're getting the highest standard for a home domestic product. You can't ask for much more than that. You can see it's pretty easy to get in. Anyone will be able to clean the grinder or make it work quite simply just by locking those back in, popping your cover on the front, and you're all ready to go again. I wanted to show you how we're utilising the Philos here in our bar. We obviously have the big ZM here, which is what we use for most of our singles or our decafs or other blends to run. But the Philos has been fantastic. It actually will handle the workload and the volume that you'd have in a small cafe. Yes, it's going to be fantastic at home. It's going to handle everything you can throw at it. But if you do have like a small restaurant, cafe, where you want to have a bit of single dosing, this would be fantastic. It's not designed to grind off a whole bag of coffee, but definitely allow you flexibility in different coffees. It's going to be a great grinder for that. So I'm just popping in our single dose pre-weighed. This is a 23 gram of our Remera actually at the moment, a Burundi coffee. Just pop it on, open it up. I'm at grind 50. And this doesn't have the pre-crunching burrs in them, so these have the full smooth burr set in them. I always get the numbers mixed up, but I think sure it's the 189 set in this one here right now. If I get that wrong, yeah, put it in the comments. Cool, so once it's finished, I like just to turn it off and then just give it a flick. It just allows that little bit of the dose to come back out. If you leave the motor running and then just keep flicking, there will be a couple of grams that will get left in there. So you can see there, it's all out other than, two little grinds. But let's make a brew. So there you go, that's what the grinds come out like. It's quite fluffy, very fine. Definitely, it will go fine enough for sure. There's no issues there. Do a little bit of our NCD distributing, standardise our tamp. I'm just going to make a long black. So we've got our beautifully tempered water, 75 degrees. We'll lock in our handle. Check out this extraction. I like to float the first part of the long black there, see all that really rich colours. Beautiful. It's really sweet, really juicy, good florals coming through. Been really impressed with these burrs. We had a one-on-one test between the ZM and this. We were very surprised at how much clarity we can get out of this burr set. Now, Mazzer is a multi-generational brand. There are many people who've been able to talk to, I think they're into the third generation of the Mazzer family. And they do say that the grinder should last multi-generations. And if you're a barista that's worked somewhere, you know that you've got an old Mazzer that's sitting there and it still works and you've pumped so much coffee through it. So they're really confident in their product, and I think the reliability of the Mazzer name just stands the test of time. Have you worked out what the name of Philos means? Well, it means friendly. And really what it's about, I was talking how we were hugging that grinder in the morning. It's all about being your friend, how you start the day. This grinder is your best mate at the start of the day to give you that perfect cup of coffee. So you're really embracing your friend, you're embracing the Philos that is going to start your espresso and your day off perfectly every single day. So there you have it. That's the Philos grinder. What do you like better? Do you like this beautiful black, or is something like the brushed stainless look over here your desired option? I'd love to hear. Let us know in the comments down below which one of these would suit you best at home. And if you've got any other questions, I will look forward to trying to answer those for you. And if you haven't yet, please do like and subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel and provide you this kind of great content so you can be better at making coffee at home or as a cafe. Whatever your coffee needs are, we've got something for you. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.